Others who travel to another world are usually wealthy, embraced by beautiful women. Even if they lack wealth, they can recite poetry to show off and thus reach new heights in life. But my journey to another world has landed me in prison. What a mess is this? Quickly give me back my protagonist's script. The world he's entered is full of both male and female spirits, as well as dangerous beings like bone Buddhas. The capital city he's in is fraught with peril. A careless move could cost him his life. But who cares? I'm the main character after all. My luck is extraordinary, turning disasters into blessings, picking up money daily, and living a carefree life. Yet this is just the surface of Shu Qinan's life. Behind the scenes, even he doesn't know that he's merely a pawn in a greater story. Shu Qinan was still dreaming when suddenly a pungent smell struck him. He thought it must be the family's clever dog running onto the bed to relieve itself. But when he opened his eyes, he saw a large butt facing him. Shu Qinan instinctively reached out to push it away, but in the next moment, the dog vanished, and he found something new in his hand. He was now in the dungeons of Jinjiao Mansion, but he distinctly remembered celebrating his promotion at a bar with a group of misfits just yesterday. Then came a sudden sharp pain, and it felt as if his head might explode as unfamiliar memories flooded into his mind. Shu Qinan recalled that his father had died in the Mountain Sea battle 19 years ago, and his mother followed shortly after due to illness. He was raised by his second uncle and trained in martial arts, achieving the peak of alchemy by the age of 18, but then stagnated. Thanks to his uncle, he had become an inspector in the county office of Chanla, under Jinjiao Mansion. Realizing he had crossed over into this new world as a constable, he pondered why he was now imprisoned. 3 days ago, his uncle, Shu Jiping, a 7th-ranked green-robed official, was escorting a shipment of tax silver when 150,000 taels went missing. The emperor was furious and personally ordered Shu Jiping to be executed in 5 days, with his entire family punished as well. As Shu Qinan, the nephew of Shu Jiping, he had been removed from his position and thrown into the dungeon of Jinjiao Mansion, with only 2 days left before his own exile to the frontier. Wasn't this just a hellish start? This world was still under feudal rule, devoid of human rights. The frontier was a hellish place, harsh and desolate, where most exiled prisoners wouldn't survive more than 10 years. Many others wouldn't even make it to exile, dying from various accidents or diseases along the way. Shu Qinan swallowed hard, hoping there would still be a chance. He called out to the system, "System Daddy, please come out." But after a long time, he remained alone, shouting like a fool for a system that never appeared. "I have to find a way to save myself. I can't just die here." So he thought of his first plan, to escape from prison. He was a 9th-rank martial artist, the peak of alchemy, with extraordinary physical strength. But in this world, he was just a low-ranking silver martial artist. The escape plan quickly fell through. His second idea was to rely on his clan and friends. However, the Shu family wasn't a big clan, and its members were scattered, with 150,000 taels of tax silver stolen. Who would dare plead for him at this moment? That was certainly not going to work. That left only one option. According to the laws of Dafeng, he could reduce his sentence by making up for his offenses, but that meant recovering the stolen silver. Now, being stuck in the dungeon without detailed case information made the situation utterly hopeless. At that moment, a visitor from the Yu clan entered for a visit. The visitor stopped right in front of Shu Qinan. It was Shu Xinian, the biological son of Shu Jiping, his cousin and a newly admitted scholar at Yunlu Academy. Known for his eloquence, Shu Qinan remembered that the original owner of this body didn't have a good relationship with this cousin. The purpose of this visit was to inform Shu Qinan that a clan was escorting him to the border, having taken 300 taels from Shu Xinian, the last remaining silver of their family, to ensure Shu Qinan would travel safely without incident. Shu Xinian, a man of letters, had been excluded from the commoners list but was under the protection of his academy mentors, thus not subjected to punishment. Shu Qinan glared at Shu Xinian, knowing that it was likely more than just an exclusion from commoners. It could also mean a lifelong ban on participating in the imperial examinations, leaving their descendants forever in a pitiful state. Moreover, the female members of the Shu family would be sent to the officials in 2 days, enduring great humiliation. As a scholar, how could Shu Xinian face life in the capital after this? Shu Qinan directly expressed his intentions. "You want funds, right?" Shu Xinian looked at his cousin in terror. Just a few words and gestures had revealed his intentions, but he stubbornly turned away and coldly replied, "What does it have to do with you?" He paused, feeling a twinge of guilt as they were family. With a determined expression, he added, "Just take care of yourself," and turned to leave. Shu Qinan grabbed him, exclaiming, "What are you joking about? Now isn't the time to give up." He stared intently at Shu Xinian, seriously stating, Help me gather the case files regarding the lost tax silver. Modern criminal investigation techniques rely on three essential elements: crime scene investigation, surveillance, and forensic examination. However, in ancient times, there were no surveillance systems. In the case of the lost tax silver, there were no casualties, but here I am, trapped in prison. The only breakthrough point now lies in the case files. Fortunately, the files can help reconstruct the crime scene to some extent. However, Xu Xinian doesn't understand why Xu Qinan wants to go through the files. If Xu Qinan said he wanted to solve the case, Xu Xinian would probably think he was crazy. Xu Qinan could only come up with a vague excuse. I want to know what happened during the incident. Even if I die, I need to understand, right? Xu Xinian didn't think much of it and said, I've looked through the files. I can tell you what I found. But Xu Qinan refused, saying he wanted him to write it down. Oral accounts are meaningless because they can easily omit details deemed unimportant. Xu Xinian didn't say anything more and turned to leave. As Xu Qinan watched his cousin's figure fade away, he realized that whether he lived or died depended on what happened next. After a long while, as footsteps grew nearer, Xu Xinian returned. He had copied the case files word for word. Xu Qinan couldn't wait to sit down and look through them, completely ignoring Xu Xinian's comments behind him. Xu Xinian felt helpless, thinking that perhaps this would be their last meeting in this life. Take care of yourself, he said, then turned and left. Xu Qinan remained engrossed in the files. After some time, he sighed, realizing that education is indeed valuable. The original owner of this body had been illiterate and wouldn't have recognized these complicated characters. 3 days ago, at 6:30 a.m., Xu Jiping was escorting a shipment of tax silver into the capital. At 7:15 a.m., the convoy reached Guangnan Street. Just after crossing a bridge, a strange wind suddenly swept through, startling the horses, which rushed into the riverbank. Following this, a deafening explosion rang out, and the river surged, sending 6 John-high waves crashing down. Search efforts only recovered 1.250 taels of silver, while the rest vanished without a trace. Xu Qinan was stunned. What in the world is going on? Meanwhile, in the back hall of Jin Zhao Mansion, a group of bigwigs was discussing the matter. Jin Zhao Fu's official Chen Hangguang said, "The emperor has ordered us to recover the silver before Xu Jiping is executed. But only 2 days remain." Li Yuchen asked, "Is there any new information from Xu Jiping?" Fu Yin sighed. As a mere martial artist, he only keeps shouting about being wronged. He doesn't even know how the tax silver went missing. On the other side, Chu Kaiwei said, "I used a divination technique. Xu Jiping isn't lying." Chu Kaiwei was the youngest disciple of the Heavenly Inspection Bureau, and the others began to worry. Fu Yin continued, "We've investigated Xu Jiping and examined his social interactions and financial situation thoroughly. With the help of the divination technique, he has been cleared of suspicion. However, with the tax silver gone, Xu Jiping is still in a perilous situation." Chu Kaiwei, unfazed, continued munching on sugarcane, which made Li Yuchen's frustration grow. At that moment, a piece of sugarcane pulp fell from his designated place. Li Yuchen's heart tightened, and he quickly raised the cane and put it back in place. In that instant, he felt a sense of relief. Clearly, he was yet another perfectionist. Just then, a frightening figure entered, holding a bag of steamed buns along with a letter from the Heavenly Inspection Bureau, which he handed to Chu Kaiwei. She glanced at the letter, which stated that along the way, they had not observed any signs of demonic energy in the river or on the riverbank. Hearing this news, both men's hearts sank. Where could 150,000 taels of silver have gone? It must have been taken ashore. It had been 3 days, yet they had not found a single trace of the thief. Li Yuchen remained calm, suggesting, "Could it be that our investigation direction is wrong? Perhaps it wasn't the work of demonic creatures. But if it wasn't demonic creatures at play, then where did the strange winds come from? The silver had entered the river. How could it just disappear into thin air?" At that moment, Xu Qinan was completely absorbed in the case files. He suddenly discovered a crucial clue. How could demonic creatures cause an explosion that sent water surging several john high? And it also affected the formations on both banks. There are indeed monsters in this world. The demon race has existed since ancient times, hunting and devouring humans. In the southern mountainous region, there is the largest gathering place for demons, the Demon Nation. 100 years ago, the Western countries, under the leadership of the Buddhist sect, declared war on the Demon Nation. After decades of conflict, they ultimately destroyed the Demon Nation, a battle recorded in history as the destruction of the Demon Nation. Since then, the fate of the demon race has been damaged, and they have gradually declined, while the Buddhist sect has soared to prosperity. However, Fu Yin couldn't understand why these demons would steal tax silver. although demons are known to act on their desires without regard for morality. What would they want with silver? Li Yuchen sighed, just as confused. At that moment, Chu Kaiwei spoke up, questioning why demons would commit such acts when human flesh is far more delicious. Why would they need silver? He asked. But then he looked at the buns in his hand and couldn't help but think of human meat, which made him feel nauseous. However, for a foodie, wasting food is shameful, so he devoured the buns hungrily, finishing them off quickly. Once done, he casually remarked, silver might not be as tempting to demons as living humans. Even if they want to steal or rob silver, it's much safer than openly taking tax silver in Dafeng's capital. Fu Yin pondered this and found it reasonable, but he couldn't rule out the possibility that someone was directing the demons. Li Yuchen wondered aloud, but who would instruct the demons to steal the tax silver? What's the motive? Why this particular shipment of 150,000 taels? Fu Yin thought hard, realizing that the mastermind needed a large sum but couldn't just gather wealth recklessly, which could explain their focus on the tax silver. Yet Li Yuchen pointed out another doubt. The route for transporting tax silver is random and determined by Xu Jiping at the last moment. How could they have set an ambush in the river? There's likely insider information within the escort team. He then suggested going to Yunlu Academy to consult the Confucian scholars for insights. Chu Kaiwei, however, was not pleased. Do you look down on our 4-day sword group? I've already said that the clans escorting the tax silver had no idea about anything. Li Yuchen hesitated to respond. He couldn't afford to offend the 4-day sword. Just then, Chu Kaiwei changed her focus. Before sunset, I need to shake off this troublesome task and leave Jinjiao Mansion to seek the Long Princess. The thought of the delicious food in the palace made her drool. With the case progressing slowly and time pressing on, Li Yuchen suggested, why not consult Lord Wei? His cold response was, you civil officials have your investigations, we patrollers have ours. That's the assessment Lord Wei gave me. Fu Yin felt helpless. Nothing seems to work. The entire court is watching us. Meanwhile, in the prison, Xu Qinan was dazedly holding the case files, thinking, I used to dream of traveling back to ancient times, showing off my poetic skills, and perhaps even flirting a little. Who would have thought I'd end up facing the harshness of society after crossing over? If it truly is the demons causing trouble, I'd be completely helpless, but this is just Jinjiao Mansion speculation. I can't let their guesses affect my analysis. I need to analyze it myself. Maybe I can salvage the situation. Why would they steal tax silver? Isn't human flesh more delicious to them? Even if they lack silver, there's no need to focus on tax silver. He recalled that the scriptures mentioned demon women were all enchanting and graceful, wondering if there were catgirls or doggirls among them. His thoughts wandered too far, and Xu Qinan decisively slapped himself. After all, he was known as a righteous man.